Well, it's almost time to say good afternoon and congratulations. You guys are winners. You survived Dreamforce 2009. Thanks for being here. My name is Ethan Alexander, part of the mobile team. And we're going to share some great stories with you. It's sort of a pleasure of mine to be able to interact with our customers and to, on a very basic point, what are you doing with Salesforce and what are you doing with mobile? What are your field users asking to do? And there's some amazing stories that are happening every day. And we've got a number of those that we're going to share today. So from different organizations. The idea of today, what we'll do is we'll paint the picture a little bit, and we want your questions. What are some of the things you're looking to do? What are some things you're afraid of? What went wrong? What went right through this process? And we want to find out some of these things. And specifically focus on ideas that maybe you haven't thought of for your mobile users or customizations and capabilities for Salesforce. So we'll go through a bit of a story. I've also got some demos. We'll show what Salesforce looks like on a BlackBerry and an iPhone, and we can answer other questions as well. Just out of curiosity, how many people are currently using Salesforce Mobile in some capacity? Excellent, maybe half. How many have never actually ever seen Salesforce Mobile on a device and are here to learn the basic stuff? Excellent. So we'll kind of cover a mix of that to kind of give you an idea. It really is about that cloud platform. And by the way, if you've not picked up your copy in the bookstore to take home to your kids to read tonight, it'll be fantastic. On the plane ride home, you're going to love this. Really, a lot of good detail there. I think you know that story. So we'll move through. If you did get a chance to visit the Mobile Pavilion, we've got some great partners and some key sort of contributors to our success. But if you did not get a chance to sign up for a free mobile trial, whether it's Mobile Lite, our free offering, which everybody has access to if you're running professional, enterprise, or unlimited edition, or if you want the full version of Salesforce Mobile, which is some of what we'll also talk about today, the full customization, the choosing of applications. You can choose what data is going to be on those devices. We can give you free trials of that as well. 5 users to run a pilot for 30 days maybe. The goal here is your success. We've got some success here, but we also want to keep growing that with you. And if you want to try something, absolutely is the answer. We want you to try things for free so we can set those up for you. Reach out to your account executive or contact me after this and we can arrange for those free trials for you. I'll also show you how to turn on Mobile Lite. If maybe you've not done that, we've also got our administrators, so maybe you can kind of say best practices on checking a box. You can check a box. We can all check boxes, right? That's how you turn on Mobile Lite, and I'll show you where to do that a little bit later in our demo. As a basic, just to cover the platform here, Salesforce Mobile works with Windows Mobile 6.1 devices and higher, so that's touchscreen and non-touchscreen. BlackBerry devices, also Apple iPhones and iTouches. We do recommend that you do not use a device that's older than 2 years. One of the main reasons is processing power, the memory capabilities on these devices that are a little bit old, and also the screens. The screens have just changed dramatically. And you'll see I've got one of the brand new Bold 2s, which are slated to come out this week. And we'll actually run a demo on that. And you can see just a very vibrant screen, and it makes for a very good user experience. And that's what we're talking about here, a very small screen of information that can be a big part of their interaction on a day-to-day basis. Salesforce Mobile is an application you load on the device. That's sort of a key piece because we're all used to the web browser of Salesforce. But for mobile, it doesn't really make sense to work through the mobile browser. What you want is your data when you want to interact with your data. So if you're on an airplane, you're on the road, or you're somewhere out in the field, or as some of our customers might even talk about, on a job site in the middle of nowhere, they need their product information, they need their activity history, they need that contact information and account information wherever they are. So for the example, if you're on an airplane, you can still log a meeting note. You can still copy an email that someone sent you and log it into Salesforce. You can schedule a follow-up task. So start thinking about this as a get-it-done-anywhere type of story, which we'll hear definitely from Mike in a few seconds, but from the rest of the team as well. Productivity is possible, and it's available through Salesforce Mobile. So actually, Mike, we'll start off with you since I've already sort of introduced you. From HD Supply, do me a favor and just kind of share with me, I know you've mentioned it a couple times before, what do you do, what does your team do, and a little bit about how you use Salesforce and Salesforce Mobile, if you don't mind.
Sure. Great to be here. We are not a technology company. We sell toilet seats. So we sell other things. We sell door locks and light bulbs and faucets, but though not glamorous or sexy, it's very important to keep the facilities going and the customers that we service. So we service apartments, hotels, assisted living, government installation, providing them all the maintenance supplies they need every day. National company, 500 sales reps out there across the country, in every state, with distribution centers everywhere.
Excellent. So, administrator, decision maker a little bit, or your role particularly?
My role, I'm VP of sales, so I run the sales organization, field sales, national accounts. My administrator's sitting out there in the audience. So, you know, we had some interesting challenges with not only a non-technology company, a non-technology sales force. So, you know, what our situation was, we were using legacy paper and pencil. So before we brought Salesforce.com in a year and a half ago, our sales reps were using pencil, paper, doing call sheets, faxing, mailing. We were mailing reports into them. Just the cost alone of mailing reports and data was over $300,000 a year.
Wow.
So just in the mailing cost. So, we looked for a solution that would be flexible, that we could build it ourselves, because while we're implementing Salesforce.com, we were also currently implementing SAP. So we had very little IT support. So we needed to take it upon ourselves in the sales organization to be able to have a system that was flexible enough to build it ourselves. And then we had to build it so a non-technology sales force would be able to understand it and get a win-win out of it. And so we really replicated the way they do business today digitally. And that's really what the big success was.
Very key point. Your business reflected in Salesforce. So if you don't like the name of accounts or contacts and you want to name that for the trucks or some of the key individuals,
right,
put that in Salesforce. Build those custom. How many custom applications do you guys have roughly?
Probably 3 or 4 custom applications. And again, we built it ourselves with very little IT help. So, 2 sales analysts in our organization, we sent them, got them certified, they read the books, and they were able to do it themselves. We didn't even use an integrator in order to do it. So we started the program in February. By June and July, the whole sales force was 100% implemented, both in the Enterprise Edition for home and the mobile technology on their BlackBerry for their day-to-day calls. There's a lot of repetitive business, so they're making 10 or 12 calls a day to customers. When they come back from providing that solution with the customer, we wanted to give them an easy format to track their activity and, again, not have to use the pencil and paper.
So I would assume, obviously, if people are not mailing these things in 3, 4, 5 days later, reporting, forecasting, products, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's great. And that's one of the other great parts. We had really no standardization. So we had 8 regions in the country, and everybody had their own certain way of doing their call reports. So Salesforce.com has really laid out a standardized program for us. Instant reports, and again, I think it's got to be a win-win when you're looking at building a program for your sales force. It's got to be a win for them and a win for you. So the win, we cut a lot of their time out, and the win for the management team, it's instant reporting.
No, it's fantastic. Again, finding some of the key things to start with initially, because you didn't roll this all out at once. You started off with some simple ideas, contact management, kind of interacting with that data, capturing, and then you started adding in the main paper forms, I remember.
Right. Yes.
And then adding those into the system. What are your reps saying? What's sort of their response on some of this stuff?
Well, in the beginning, they were very worried that Big Brother was coming, that they had to see, we were going to see everything. And we made it clear, that's not what the purpose was. The purpose was to make their job easier. If they had to take that schedule and write it out every month, every year, that's a lot of work. They do it one time with their customized scheduler, it's done for them. So once they saw the wins, and then they saw the data that we were able to download to them, that they seemed much smarter in front of their customers once they had the mobile technology. I mean, today it'd be hard to get that away from them. So, the adoption rate is 100%. So, it is a mandatory program, but the adoption rate isn't at 100% because it's mandatory. It's because it makes their job easier.
So one thing we'll also hear, I know that Mike did, and actually all of our panels did, was talk about training. Pick maybe 4 or 5 things that are a part of what they need to do on a day-to-day basis to say, do these things. And they start to learn more and more as they kind of go through that process. Before I move on, the scheduler.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because that's come up quite a few times from people in the audience and other audiences I've been a part of. What was the key thing for you guys in building that and then obviously rolling it out on the mobile side?
Patty built a customized scheduler for us, and the way it works is, again, if they're seeing Fox Run Apartments the first Monday of every month, now all they have to do is go in there, it drops down, it tells them what day of the month you want to see it, how often, they click the button, they say what time approximately they're going to be there. they save it one time, and it auto-populates for their scheduling. So in the mornings when they start off their day, they go on their home page on their home PC. It lays out their whole day for them. It gives them some tasks that they have to do or they've added in there. And then when they're in their car, they have their office in a car. You know, their BlackBerry, you know, gives them the information so they can track their activity after every call. So it works hand in hand, both enterprise and mobile for their vehicle.
Yeah, and so the idea is once you put it in the cloud or in Salesforce, it's available on the mobile devices. Let's talk about some of the results. You've already mentioned quite a few. Obviously, the adoption is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the metrics we look at. I mean, we're proud of 100% adoption. You know, a lot of people I've talked to say, well, how do you get it done? How do you Well, if you build it that they like it and they want to use it, you don't have to force them to use it. So, again, I think that was the real key, is to build it the way they're doing business, just digitize it. The selling time, they've increased their selling time 15 to 20% because the time they were on their phone talking to credit, talking to sales support, getting reports generated. Now with workflow, they push a button and it electronically goes to the right people. So not only have we cut the sales reps' time on the phone and increased their selling time, we've also got an ROI with our support staff. And we're figuring right now we're saving about $4,000 a month just in productivity time for our sales support team. That's 2 headcount that we don't, you know, that we could redeploy and don't have to add new headcount as we grow. And then probably the big key is we're outperforming our competition by 7 to 10%. And this is a tough economy right now. So, you know, a lot of our competition's public companies like Grainger and Interline, and we can see their production versus what we're doing, and we're taking a lot of market share. So we think Salesforce in the cloud has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think when Mike and I first started talking, actually quite a while back, I remember Mike mentioned, well, we like this, things are going quite well, but we don't want to share it because we have competition. And we've got a little bit of a leg up. So thank you for being here publicly finally.
Sure, yes. I was going to wear a mask, but they made me take that off. But I'm going to...
But it's great to show those. And you've seen the results, obviously, from the management level as well, because you're able to track this information.
Sure.
I know you mentioned that. So we're putting those details together. So we want your dashboards to look like this as well. Kind of a nice change of pace. And I like the idea that it's really the mobile office in a truck. I mean, these guys don't interact too much with the laptop. They don't really bring it out there as much. They have it, but...
Well, they really use their home PCs, but it's all on the mobile. I mean, that's the way they operate. So.
Did you roll out mobile with Salesforce at the same time, or how did you kind of stagger
that?
Yeah,
we started the Enterprise First Edition, so their home PCs, but quickly right after, within the next month, we went right into mobile, because we knew that was really going to be the key. They're in the field constantly. We didn't want them to write notes and have to come back and enter that into a computer at night.
Exactly. And as we get through, we'll also give you ideas on different ways you can load Salesforce Mobile on all your BlackBerries around the world in kind of one push of a button. There's actually a BES loader, if you're familiar with a BlackBerry Enterprise Server. We can actually give you the Salesforce mobile application. You can pull it down, put it on your BES, push a button. It'll be on everyone's BlackBerry all over the world in a matter of seconds. And you can continue as we update the product, provide those same updates. And I think we all are doing that for the most part, yeah, as a way to deploy the application very quickly and easily. So we'll continue on with the great stories. Richard, if you don't mind, we're going to do the same with you. Kind of tell us about what you're doing and the success that you're having at Kaiser Permanente.
So for those of you who don't know, Kaiser Permanente provides health care to a little over 8.5 million members across the country, 8 states, 9 states in the District of Columbia. We have a pretty large sales force, a couple hundred folks across those 8 regions. And they're out meeting with predominantly with directly with the employer, but also a large piece of their business is also done through brokers and consultants. So with healthcare, you know, it's a very personal experience being able to go out there and make those connections directly with the employer, directly with the broker, and impress them with get them to trust you in terms of being able to deliver healthcare to them. So it's very important that we have our team out there in the field meeting with these customers. One of the problems that we noticed, though, was when we first rolled out the Salesforce software was, you know, we had everyone back in the office because everyone's documenting, and we noticed a distinct drop-off in our productivity. We weren't winning a lot of clients, weren't having as many meetings as we had before, and that had a direct impact on our bottom line. So when we heard about mobile, we thought that that would be a great opportunity to try and get our folks back out in the field again. So.
And when you started off on mobile, I think you had a pilot group that you went out with initially. What was that like? What was what happened in that process?
So we had Salesforce for about a little over a year and a half, and then we decided to roll this out. So we put together a pilot program. About 3 months, had a handful of pilot users, and it was great. When we first started off, everyone was really, really enthusiastic about it. And about halfway through, I started noticing there was a lot of grumbling, a lot of complaints. And I asked them, why the sudden drop-off? And they said, well, we still have to come back in the office. And it kind of caught me by surprise, but I guess I hadn't done a good enough job right up front setting their expectation. It doesn't replace using the desktop. It augments it. It's a great tool to use when you're out in the field, but because of the limitations, the physical storage capacity, et cetera, of your mobile device, and the fact that you're not always connected necessarily, not always in a good location, you can't just use that. We can't push everything out to this little device. So, and I hadn't done a good enough job, I guess, with my pilot users, letting them know that. So they were really disappointed that they had to go back in the office. They thought, for sure, we're free. We don't have to ever go back in the office again. So.
But nobody's ever free. Nobody's ever free.
Yeah.
No, again, Salesforce Mobile is designed, like as Richard's saying, another option of interacting with your Salesforce data. And one thing I think you did incredibly well was keep it simple for the field users. Again, focus on a couple of key things, and as they ask for changes, you would add something to their mobile configuration, and then about a few minutes later be like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
And all you did is hit save in the application, and boom, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and that was really key. We had a user group out in Hawaii actually, and they had asked me. They said, we got pushed this mobile configuration. We only got a couple of tabs. We really used this one custom object. Why isn't it out there? And I said, well, hold on a second. And I was able to go back into the application, add that to them, and push it. And within a few minutes, they now had that tab on their mobile.
So I mean, there's a steal of success right there. Start simple, and then when you start getting that feedback. Oh, first of all, you find out they're using it. Second, what do you want? Now they're a part of this process. They're a part of that success. And there's key things that they might want to need. That form that they were filling out previously is now available in Salesforce. Same with the documentation or information that they need to complete while they're out there is available to them wherever they might be. And then that brings them, it's like, what else can this do? And we kind of heard that from a few of the users as well. So it's a great component. We talked a little bit about obstacles, but anything you want to kind of touch on? I'm kind of looking at our notes here because it's always good to...
So we did have a couple obstacles. One of them was with our managers actually, because we had just put everybody through the Salesforce deployment, bringing all the field sales into the office, going through a few days of training, and then when I went to the leadership and I said, we want to do mobile, they're like, how many days is that going to be? How many more days my guy's not going to be out in the field selling? I said, no, it's really, really simple. We're going to start simple. We're going to push it out there. I'll be able to show it to them like half an hour tops. And I couldn't get buy-in. They refused. So we just turned it into what we call a Nike project, which is just do it. We just did it and pushed it out, and then I had it on the pilot users' devices. And after that point, easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. And the managers actually liked it. And as a matter of fact, I think
with that one,
this quote here on this slide, this actually came from the guy who kept telling me now. So a year and a half later, this is what he said. So I thought that was a great turnaround. So of course, failure is an orphan, success has many fathers. So now he's taking a lot of the credit. But that's okay.
We like you.
That's okay. They're all using it.
Yeah, so. It is some of it challenging because mobile is a bit of a different language, a different communication path. I mean, you look at the device, like how do all these things happen here? How do we get all of our data, quote unquote, on there? Yeah. Well, the idea is you need your data for today and this week. You actually have access to everything. You can search. Yeah, you can actually just run a search right from your device. If somebody calls up and says that account or this client, whatever it might be, search, it'll bring it down to your device. Yeah, because we actually started off, again, just in the mantra of keeping it simple. We just pushed a limited amount of data out to them. And then, as they need more, they're always able to search. And when they search, what it does, it'll go out there to the servers and pull that data down to their device. And now they have it again. And they're able to find it a lot faster. So it's a key point. I mean, obviously, we want to keep driving success, and we're very fortunate here. So one of the other questions that we'll ask as we get more into the panel is challenges. Obviously, the management piece is a big one. Training is a big one. Actually, on the training, you did, I believe, a number of webinars. with the BlackBerry Simulator, for example, to kind of show a couple of examples. What was the feedback when you
That was really neat. Everybody really liked being able to see that. So, because again, because we're in 8 different regions, we can't go out to every single region. So, a couple of webinars we're able to do. We had the BlackBerry simulator up on the screen, and we were able to actually walk through, moving back and forth between the PowerPoint slides and the BlackBerry, and being able to show that to them. It was really neat. It was really
Seeing is believing. That's another reason we're going to give you a demo in a little bit. But we do also have free for download a BlackBerry simulator, preloaded with Salesforce Mobile. Use it as a testing tool, a training tool. It's actually the world's largest BlackBerry on the screen. But it sort of shows what's possible, and it gives people ideas on different ways they could be using it out in the field. Their data, your data, pretty much out in that environment. The bar chart is amazing to me when you sent that over.
So so this is when we started off with that initial one of those 4, I think was me, and then a little bit later we rolled it out to the other teams. And one of the key takeaways, I guess, from the pilot was to set expectations right up front. So on the very second slide that we have for our training deck, this is what Salesforce Mobile is not going to do for you. It's just to set that expectation right up front, so we didn't have the same problem with our pilot users. And it's been really good. So what we've found with our users is that once one team has it, the next team wants it. Sales folks being really competitive. You can't have someone else have something that they don't have, and that helped us drive adoption. Once we started to get it here in this one region, another region found out about it. They started asking questions about it, and all of a sudden they want to have it, and it just snowballed. And this is just over 2 years. So.
Yeah, and obviously it sounds like it's helping the bottom line, which is always a benefit to
Absolutely, you. Absolutely, yeah. We noticed we doubled the number of meetings we had. The Salesforce Mobile users in my region doubled the number of documented meetings that they had in Salesforce from before. So when we first started using it, there was that dip as they were all back in the office, trying to learn it, trying to get used to it. Because we were very much, just like Mike, we were very much paper and pencil and technology, very afraid of that. So that was another hurdle that we had to overcome. So this was great, being able to see that the mobile users had doubled the number of face-to-face interactions they had was really good.
That's huge. I think it's everybody's results are going to be different. Figure out what your objectives might be before even starting in this direction. Login rates, sales visits, quality of data. There's different aspects that might actually help your own, first step, second step, third steps, and some great ideas. You might be surprised along the way is what we're finding out.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so this was a great quote. This was from one of our, admittedly, he's one of our super users. He's one of the sales rock stars. But what actually happened, I won't read this, I'll just kind of paraphrase it for you, is he had scheduled a meeting with a client away from the office, pretty good distance. Drove over there, walked in there, found out the guy apologized, Steve, really sorry, but I got an emergency with my kid. I can't have our meeting. Let's reschedule. So Steve is like, oh, sure, no problem, smiling, thinking to himself, I just wasted 2 hours of my day. What he did instead was he had the mobile device. He pulled it out, found another client really close by, used the built-in mapping feature, found where the other client was, called them up, logged the call to Salesforce, very cool, and then scheduled another meeting with them, drove 15 minutes away, had the meeting, documented in Salesforce, and when he got back into the office, his manager had noticed that this had taken place. He's like, hey, I thought you were meeting with client A, but then I looked in there, I saw your schedule, you met with client B. What happened? He told him about it. It was great. He got a lot of kudos from his sales manager for being flexible and on the ball, and so Steve brought a big bag of Reese's peanut butter cups to me the next day. So, so
yeah!
Candy's always good. Always appreciate it.
So. I'm looking for mine. Where's that over here? What a great idea. No, you just ran through like 7 different things that somebody did because of Salesforce Mobile. I'll kind of hit on a couple of them. Updated his record when somebody canceled. Yeah. Went to the device, found another close-by account. There's 2 ways to do that. Obviously, you have some views that allow that. Yeah. There's also a free application in the App Exchange that is a GPS tracker. And you can load it on your device, and then you can click on it. It will give you contacts in your immediate area that are in Salesforce. That is a cool thing. So check out the App Exchange as well. There's a lot of cool apps on there, some for free. This one is. Others for pay. Maybe you can also build your own and put one up there as well. But then logging that call, mapping it. So, yes, we have a handover to Google Maps on the BlackBerry and on the iPhone. So you can literally click, and I'll show you on my device. It will then give you driving directions to that business, billing, shipping, or whatever location you're going to. And then, of course, you can make that call, log that call, follow-up task. I think I got most of them there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
Few
simple.
ideas to think about there, at least for starts.
And their manager was able to see all that
In Salesforce.
in Salesforce back in the office. He was checking the team calendar and saw that one of his guys had gone to a different client instead.
So if it's not in Salesforce, it does not exist. And if it's in
Right.
Salesforce, you get a bucket of peanut butter Reese's cups for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now we're going to get on to what I call our dynamic duo. So as Richard mentioned, there is sometimes a challenge from management. I know you guys never have that problem when you roll out great ideas. This is a perfect example of management and, can I say, just sort of the field guys asking for things and working together. How is that possible? Am I seeing it? Have you heard all these stories? So Dora and Andrea have done a phenomenal job of working together on objectives and requirements and needs, but both sides of the houses are actually working together to make this happen. So I'm going to ask, one of you, can you elaborate on that story so the audience can understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, so as he's mentioned, we're from Liberty Mutual, and obviously there are 4 different SBUs within Liberty Mutual. We both work for agency markets, so we sell insurance through independent agencies. But one of the big challenges we have is in our current Salesforce instance, we actually support 9 different regional companies for commercial lines and 1 national company for personal lines. So as you can imagine, they all have very different wants and needs. Dora is my partner on the commercial lines side, and I actually run the team that does, kind of sits in the middle and supports all the front-end configuration development for Salesforce, and then works with our IT partners as well, and on the back-end integration, everything that we do for Salesforce.
So I can only imagine that 9 different regions, all different things, different expectations, actually a bunch of different independently sort of managed groups, correct? How do you make them all happy with this stuff? Or how do you know, kind of some of the background
We give
of what
them
they
things
do?
like mobile.
Yes, things like mobile and Reese's peanut butter cups maybe as well. But yeah, how did you find out the information from them and the requirements that they were expecting there?
So actually, we did a pilot group, and we worked closely with different business groups on both sides for personal and commercial, and then we did a pilot. That's one of the things we actually learned in Dreamforce last year. Actually, 2 great things we took away from our Dreamforce session last year, a mobile session just like this, was we went live with Salesforce in June of 2008, but did not roll out mobile until June of 2009, so a whole year later. We actually used it as kind of an incentive for them. So we, they all wanted it from the beginning, but we said, once we get this up and going and get the adoption and you're actually using it and understanding it, then we'll give you the mobile application, which actually worked out very well for us. And then we did do a pilot as well. The pilot was great for us as well. We learned that we weren't just giving it to our sales team. We have roughly 2,400 users now, and about 450 that are actually using mobile. Obviously, our main goal was for the sales team, but the RVPs that manage them are using it. Some of our executives are using it. And one of the things that we found in the pilot was, pushing which information to them. We wanted to give them the right information on their mobile device to make it easier for them. So we had to make some changes, for the regional vice presidents. We used the account team as how we push the information to our sales team. But for the RVPs and above, they're not always on that account team for each agency. So we had to change some of our roles and do some different configuration. And we worked closely with Salesforce and the mobile team to help us figure out the best ways to do that. And without the pilot, we wouldn't have realized that before we rolled out. So that made us be more successful. The RVPs were actually much happier whenever
So it sounds like actually from
all
all the groups here that running a pilot will bring up new ideas that maybe you weren't considering, and maybe even simplify some of the ideas that maybe you thought they really did need all this or that data.
Right.
I guess as you kind of roll this out, talk about maybe similar like Richard did, when you had to make a change, what was their reaction, what do they need, and then delivering that change to them.
Right. So in our Salesforce instance, we have tons of information.
Yeah.
It is our main place to go for agency management. It's amazing how quickly it grows. We actually have 400 custom fields on our account object already. It's crazy. So we did not want to obviously push all this to the mobile device. Like he said, we wanted to keep it very simple. So we picked the key metrics, and we actually worked with the pilot group to determine what those should be, and with our business partners as well to help decide what that needed to be, and only rolled out the most important information to them to keep it simple.
Perfect. So in the admin console, you can choose what applications. You can actually eliminate fields from the views, so that if you maybe have 200 or 300 in the online view, you can have 20 or 15. I also heard custom fields, custom pick lists.
Yes.
He said custom pick lists are one of your helpers too, because instead of typing something in, they can select something.
Right.
So kind of building in some of those best practices might make a difference, because a field user can click, 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 as opposed to type, type, type sometimes. So pick lists can go a long way on those things. On On some of the training, how often did the training occur, or what did you guys do about training for the field users?
So similar to, I just lost your name,
Richard.
We did several webinars as well. We conducted a few webinars. We also put together a QRG that we could send out for those that couldn't attend the webinars. So it was just a quick snapshot that showed some pictures that we took, of the mobile device that they could just walk through on their own time, as well as did the webinars for them.
Yeah, so the screenshots, obviously we're talking about the BlackBerry Simulator, for example. There's another one for iPhone as well. Windows has one. It's a way to capture the screenshot so you can show, what log a call looks like, or some of the key fields or the custom fields and applications that you have in sort of a real environment on a device. So it's a great way to just kind of get I understand what we're talking about here. Please.
One of the other big things we learned as part of the pilot was we had just done an acquisition when we got Salesforce. So our commercial lines partners were very, very used to using the web application, and the mobile became, it was so easy for them. But our personal lines, the national company, were all new with the acquisition, and they weren't very familiar with even our regular Salesforce instance. So we found that the training for them had to be a lot more extensive. They didn't understand views and how views work even in the regular instance. So when you go to a mobile and being able to use the views and pick what you want was kind of a whole new concept for them. So it was a little harder for them, and that was a big thing that came out in the pilot too. So we had to spend more time, which is another advantage of waiting the year before we did the rollout. We had to spend more time with the people that weren't as familiar with the web instance to make them understand how to use the mobile better.
And one thing I'll touch on with you guys, because security is very important. So managing that information is somewhat critical. Was there some questions around that when you guys first started to roll out mobile?
For security?
For security?
Oh, yeah. We had to work closely with our IT partners. This was one of the first mobile applications that were pushed out on a device at Liberty Mutual. So we had to get different IT groups together, and we actually had to package everything and then to have it pushed to the devices and handle the requests for any users that come on that want it. So now our IT was very involved. They went through the security and approved everything before it pushed through in Liberty.
That's a great
point.
point.
We had to upgrade several devices as well as part of the acquisition for this. So it was great to have them involved. We work very closely with them.
And we do have security documents available to everyone. Your account executive can provide those. We have those on our mobile pages as well. It's a key component because, again, we want you to trust Salesforce. We want you to trust it in any environment that you're working in. So for the field users. So in this example, it's on the BES server. It's actually pushed out to the devices. It's a trusted application because it's coming from the corporate IT. But it's really up to you. We want to mirror the responsibility that you want to provide to your field users. We can definitely work within those means. 3 large organizations, I'll say, though. Also, we want to let you know that a small company, if you have just one user and it's just yourself and you want to be a mobile user, you can benefit from all these same ideas. So we have some brand names here. I'll say thank you for that. But in the same sense, this is something for any size organization. And I don't know, even as you grew these things, you started off with a small group. And as you grew those, it kind of just became more of your own process and procedure for the organization there. So small guys are good too. Success. Let's talk about a little success if you don't mind. If there's any key components you wanted to add in. Or?
Yeah, I think everyone sees the successes, and it looks like a lot of people out here are using mobile, but I see a lot of people on their mobiles right now too. So obviously people are addicted to their mobiles, and having that information especially for our salespeople between their meetings, they now can get a lot of stuff done while they're going in between meetings, and of course not while they're driving. So the best story that I absolutely love saying this is as soon as we rolled this out, we went down to a national sales conference, and this lady comes up and she's like, "It's fantastic," and I get, I'm not doing things, administrative. Certain things are, they think administrative.
Yeah.
I go to a meeting, I now have to put in, a call report. And when it's fresh in your mind, it doesn't become administrative because, you have follow-up items that you want to, contact. But they're doing that via, emails or making those phone calls. Now it's not administrative because now you can utilize the tool for what she needs to do in our business process. She gets out of a meeting, she has all her to-dos, she sits in her car, and she does it. Her story was she was getting a pedicure and doing her to-dos. So I love that.
Funny, that was my story, right? But no, downtime, productive time all of a sudden. So it doesn't matter where you might be. It's perfect because sometimes the little things can free up later time for their own lifestyle or there's, a little more happiness. Who doesn't love happiness in the world? Excellent. So I love this quote, too. I mean, it's just a couple of good feedback, and that's what we want. Again, interacting with your field users. What are they saying? What's sort of their response? So I know at first it was a little bit of shy, and then it sort of came on with different things. Was there any kind of process that you saw with the field users, like certain groups that just absolutely went crazy with it, and some guys that didn't at first?
One of the things with Salesforce, so again, we learned from going to Salesforce, Dreamforce last year, was to wait, because we actually were thinking about doing Salesforce mobile all at the same time. But the fact that they got used to Salesforce, we had the adoption there, because that was one of the biggest risks going to a CRM was you build it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come. So we wanted to make sure that we had our Salesforce instance on the laptop nice and tight. And so we had, a 99% adoption rate with our salespeople. But we weren't there necessarily with our managers quite yet.
Right.
So that was one of the challenges we had. And the mobile, then we waited a year. They knew Salesforce. And the success we had with mobile, especially with our managers, up to our senior executives was incredible. Because now they didn't need to call anybody to know how big of an account was. And that was one of the challenges we had when we pushed information. The owner on that record, who owned the account, were our salespeople. But now our executives and managers were using their mobiles to find out what the latest deal was, to find out what the revenue was, big accounts. So that was a huge success with our senior managers with the BlackBerries. And getting the information at their fingertips.
Again, we're talking about service, field sales, support teams, senior management. I see it around Salesforce offices, especially near the end of the quota. All of our sales guys and our management are walking about with their dashboards going, "Thank you, Ethan." I'm like, it's not me, it's our mobile team. They're the experts behind this. But they're just able to be aware of what's going on, what happened last time. And it's a way to almost kind of build that team spirit a little bit, kind of sharing in those success stories. And also when there's questions, they can kind of come back. Hey, why don't we do this or why don't we do that? So I kind of wanted to capture a couple of the key takeaways. You've heard quite a few here today, but it's the idea of really running your business anywhere, in any environment where, on a remote job site somewhere, you still got your data with you for the most part. Interact with it, save it, do what you need to do. It's a mobile business part. Start with that pilot. We've heard that from all the different groups. You get some good feedback from your field users. You never know what they might say or say, we don't need this, but we do need that. It might be a bit of a revelation to you in that process. Training goes incredibly well. If you give them an idea of what you're expecting, they will actually give you feedback on what they would like to do, and you can build that into the process. Build that team component into this. Keeping it simple, and of course, mobile can be a distinct advantage. A competitive advantage is what we're finding in almost all these different examples here. So, again, your business in a mobile environment, it's really about how to enable that. I'm actually going to get to a demo here. This is sort of there it is. We're going to get into question and answer. But before we do that, let me show a couple of examples. And then if one of you guys have a device maybe of your instance that I could show, that might be another conduit for our information here. So let me switch over to our lovely Elmo. So I've got two devices I'm going to focus on. Unlock one. And you can see, whoops, a little low. That's a little bit better. Move that over. So you're looking at a brand new Bold 2. I will tell you the main thing you'll notice is there's no trackball. Notice the trackpad right here. This is so cool. So you're going to move around, scroll around. Very quick. There's actually a little camera behind that I found out as opposed to like a sensor. So it's following your finger, and then you can actually click on things. So when I scroll over, there's my email. And I'll show you, let's see if we can focus that a little bit better, unless you guys all drank too much last night. It's a little better. It's still a little fuzzy. And then over on the far left-hand side there's Salesforce. It's going to ask you to log in with your passcode. Now, we don't want you typing your Salesforce password all the time, so what we've enabled on iPhone and BlackBerry is a passcode. And it's unique to the individual user. So it's their own number or letter sequence that they wanted to type in on the BlackBerry, or a number sequence they would type in on the iPhone. It's another way to kind of protect your data. Of course, as an administrator, you control this. You can have it turn on. It's defaulted for 10 minutes. You can have it never do this if you've already got some security controls in place. Or you can dial it down to maybe 1 minute if you really want to irritate all your field guys. Don't recommend that one. There's my super secret password. Nobody saw it. And I'm instantly into the application. Remember, not a browser. I don't want to wait for things. I have ADD, and I love it because I want to get my work done. Across the top, applications. Now, I mentioned to you at the very beginning of this we have mobile light and full mobile. What I'm showing you here is Mobile Lite. It's our free product. So if you're running Professional Edition or Enterprise Edition or Unlimited Edition, you can have what we call read-only aspect into Salesforce Mobile, so your mobile data. Let me see if I can get that a little bit. That's a little better. So it's the idea that you can actually interact with your information. I can open up my opportunities, for example, and scroll through those. We also heard about views quite often. So here under views, oops, let me do that. So you have multiple view choices as well. You can create custom views up to 10 per object, and then dial that down a little bit so you can go to My Opportunities or All Opportunities, or if you want, New York opportunities, San Francisco opportunities, deals over $1 million, whatever it might want to be. And you've got that opportunity view as well as account views you can also run. Let me kind of just scroll over a little bit. There's my accounts. So the list of accounts, you can just start to type in what you're looking for, and it'll bring up those filter instances. So when I just put in E, it brings up Edge Communications or General Electric. Let me just go to Edge. And I can open that record and then scroll through and see the different details about that account. Again, the same fields, the same page layout that I have in Salesforce. Do you want to see related information? Well, there it is. Related contacts, related opportunities, related tasks. A little further down, how about this? Activity history. So I can see every phone call, email, communication I have with this customer over the past 2 months, 2 years, 2 weeks, whatever you want it to be, because it's customizable. It's a little blurry, though, isn't it? Let's see if I can zoom in a little more. Oh, that's getting big. There we go. And then in the same sense, we talked about mapping. How cool is this? You can actually choose maps, billing or shipping. Let's give that a second while it hands it over to Google Maps. Kind of buried in a back room here, so we'll see how this one goes. So you do need wireless coverage to obviously share your GPS and get a mapping direction. Yep, and there it goes. So there's my Google Maps. We are going to Austin, people. Who wants to go for a ride? So at the bottom you can see barely, it says driving directions. So now you can actually trigger the driving directions based on the GPS on your device. When you're done, you're right back where you left off. So now that you're at the account, because you had driving directions, you know how to get there, you can log a call. So I can log a call. I can place a call. Let's actually show you that. I'll show you that component first. So place a call, you have the numbers that are available in Salesforce. Dial that. I'm going to hang up because I don't know who's going to answer that phone. Guess it's a 555. And it asks me to instantly log a task or an event. I know all of your reps already do this every time they make a phone call, every time they send an email, so you don't need this feature, but it's a nice one to know about. Then when you click Log That Task, it'll bring up the same record type that you have for task logging or event logging in Salesforce. Capture that in Salesforce, hit Save. About a second or two later, it is in Salesforce, believe it or not. If you're disconnected, like completely on an airplane or something like that, it'll store that and forward it onto the device when you do find coverage. Now, the key component that I know that Mike brings up is my guys don't want to have to push a button to synchronize. Our answer is no problem. When the device finds coverage, it'll send any waiting messages on the device to Salesforce, and it'll pull down any waiting messages from Salesforce completely in the background. And things just sort of show up. One other piece I will show. So we did that, related contacts. So you can actually see what contacts are associated with that, tasks, events, opportunities, as we saw. And there's also a search component. So in this little search box right here, actually I can just type Edge or something like that. It'll do two things if I run that search. One, it'll look locally on my device. And that search in progress at the very top says it's searching in Salesforce for anything that matches that same search criteria. I'm not sure if anything else will come down because I'm looking only within the accounts object. If you want to do a macro search, you do that from the Home tab. Let's go ahead and do a little different one now. Scroll over, Home. And I can now run that search from the Home object, and it brings up results across all the different applications I have access to. Pretty cool. And it's going to bring down that information and put it on my device now if I select it. So a great way to kind of have access to all your Salesforce data. But as we found out, it's the idea of making the relevant data available to your field users wherever they might be. Let me actually show a little iPhone, and then I'm going to pull Mike. I'm going to pull your device, if that's okay. And by the way, I did all that with our free product. So logging phone calls, logging emails. One last one. Let me show you this. So if I'm in my email here, I have this wonderful, Whoops, that's a little low, isn't it? That's a little high. That's about just right. It says log email to Salesforce. So you can send me all the emails you want, and you know what? I will log them in Salesforce from my BlackBerry while I'm sitting on the airplane, while I'm sitting on the bus and the taxi. So it's the idea of being productive wherever you might be. Capture that information, put it right in Salesforce, kind of like you were saying. And with a little different UI, let me back this up a little bit. The iPhone's going to be a little darker. I apologize about that. Is that any better or not? A little bit better. Let's go right into Salesforce. There's a big cloud. And again, I've downloaded this from the iTunes store. Super secret password. Glad nobody saw that. And now, this is where I left off. I'm in my search boxes, so I can search with accounts, opportunities, leads, any of these key components. In this instance, on my iPhone, I'm running the full version of Salesforce Mobile, so I have custom applications. How do I know that? Look at all those applications on the other side of this. So I've got IT tickets, approvals, proximity search. Remember the one I mentioned about App Exchange? On that proximity search for GPS, I can find contacts in my immediate area. User management, I can reset passwords for people on my team right from my mobile device. And other key components. So again, the idea of custom applications on your device, this is what we're talking about here. Same key information. If I go into accounts, I can flick through. There's Edge Communications, just like we saw on the BlackBerry. And then again, a little different UI. I can log a call at the top. I have the same click to dial, so I can actually call the number right out of here and log that in Salesforce. I can do the same mapping, the GPS mapping, just by tapping on the address right there. And down at the bottom here is where the related lists, so related contacts. And then the same idea, so maybe Rose Gonzalez this time. We'll see here key information, log that detail. Oops, a little quick there. And then if you dial that number as well, the same idea is available on the iPhone. Go back into the app. So again, log that phone call. So you can barely see that. Trust me, it's a lot brighter on your own phone. And that's one of the things we want you to walk away with. We want you to get Salesforce Mobile on your device so you can have an idea of testing this and trialing this. Mike, you mind if I show a little bit of yours? Or
Sure.
if you want to kind of walk through an example?
Sure. You want me to
Walk
it through? Yeah, I'm the sales rep's worst nightmare. Vice president of sales who has access to every customer. They hate when I'm with them.
So
Well, you can say it. Yeah, so, this is their front page. They can, they can see, click on any customer, and then this is the detail that they'll be able to get. They get customer information, address, who owns the property, as far as the management company. Then they get, sure.
Thank you for mentioning.
There we go. And there's the territory planning piece that we talked about. They see this customer on Mondays at 9:30. It's a 30-minute call usually, and they see him every 4 weeks. And then they can scroll down. It gives them sales information. That's downloaded every evening from our systems and uploaded in the cloud.
So wait a minute. You connected an external system to Salesforce that then gives them data on their mobile devices.
Correct. And when SAP goes live next Monday, if I'm still here next year, I'll tell you. When it goes live on Monday, eventually we'll integrate, and be able to send data directly from SAP.
So Salesforce Mobile will be the front end of your SAP system, or parts of your SAP system.
For our Salesforce, definitely, yes. And then just quickly, the credit information, they're able to get instant credit information so they can be proactive with their customers on their pay history. And then the last thing, which has been one of the newer features we customize, is their product category year-to-date sales. So we can see, and the sales rep could see, where they're strong and where they're not. If they're not selling enough plumbing, if they're selling appliance parts or whatever, that's broken down by percentages for them, and it gives them, again, instant data that they're much more knowledgeable in front of a customer.
So I saw a couple of little twisties up there. You might want to, scrolling up a little bit, and we expand or close some of these.
Sure.
Because obviously it's a very long screen sometimes to flow through.
Right.
What we did is we enabled twisties, and Mike was sort of a help in that to kind of maximize screen real estate. So
Right.
if we want to...
Yeah, better do my twisties. I'm not that good.
So you can see in this section right here, let's see if we can open that up. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call too, which is always fun.
Yeah, I'll answer your phone first.
Oops, what just went on with it? Well, without actually going through that, 'cause I'm trying to do it upside down. You can actually close, see where the account information, you can open and close those to maximize the screen real estate. And some of them down here are actually closed up.
Right, so you can open and close if you don't want to scroll
Yeah,
down
you
the
don't wanna scroll
whole
through all those
piece.
things, so you can actually shorten the screen real estate of what they have to move through.
But I'm certainly much more intelligent with the sales reps too. My sales management team is, we have the information as we're riding with our rep. We're proactively sharing information for an account instead of me waiting to get information and whether it's correct or not. Now I actually have the facts. So.
Excellent.
And that's actually an important point as far as data quality, because they don't have to, if they now know that, they go to an agent's office and somebody new is there and they have a new contact or somebody's phone number changed, they now don't have to put it on a piece of paper and then, but give it to somebody else to put it into the system. They now can put it right within the system. So data quality has also improved as well.
So what questions do you guys have? I mean, we've learned a lot of ideas here. Everybody's probably got a bunch of notes and a bunch of different concepts, but are there any sort of questions? Can you do this, or is this possible, is that possible, or is there any key requirements you guys are looking for? This is a chance to ask some of our best questions. Yeah, we've got a microphone, so if you just want to stand up, that'd be perfect, if you don't mind.
I had a question about the training, and you said that you can download the simulator. Will it simulate what you customized for your mobile users, or is it just a general simulation?
No, so actually you guys, I'm going to stop talking.
It'll actually it'll simulate exactly what you've designed. So it's also a great testing tool. So when you want to test a configuration or test a layout or something, you can do it for your profile first and then look at it on your simulator. And kind of a funny story. It took me forever. It's kind of ironic. It took me forever to actually get a BlackBerry, to get my boss to free up the funds to actually get me a BlackBerry. But here I am leading the mobile pilot program. So I actually used the simulator for about 6 months. That was my BlackBerry. So I actually used that for a while.
So the BlackBerry works just like a normal, or the simulator works just like a normal BlackBerry. Of course, you can't answer the phone when it's on your laptop or send an email in that respect. But you can literally, you log in with your Salesforce credentials. Yep. You can also deactivate that user and sign in with different credentials. You can also use Sandbox on the mobile simulator as well. So you can get a good idea of what's working, what's not working, change it, hit refresh all data for your administrators, and then it will pull those changes that you just made in Salesforce. So you can see them instantly on that.
Yeah, we've saved our training links on our Enterprise Edition too, so if they need a refresher, they can go right on there, click on a link, and it goes through their training again, so they can keep refresh if they forgot one component or one piece of their training.
Yeah, we've done the same thing. We have multiple ways of trying to train, so we have an online module that they can go in and at any point in time. So anybody coming on that's new can take the training. So it's always there.
And we're certainly interested in Salesforce Mobile to help if there's questions about that. So contact your account executive. I'm the only Ethan at Salesforce currently. So I'm happy to send these links out to you guys. We do have them on our blog, our mobile blog, so they're available there as well. Question, please.
Yeah, I'll definitely want those deploying mobile out in the next couple months. So my question is to do with approvals, and if you can approve from your mobile device. For example, we have a partner portal with a custom deal registration process. So our outside sales reps, area managers, et cetera, do a lot of approving, like 5 to 10 a day. And that's their main pain point. And it's the main reason for rolling out mobile, so that when they're on the road, they can approve. Because I know that you can just, text yes back when you get an email, but we don't want them doing that. We want them reviewing the records to make sure they're approved. But can you do approvals on your mobile device?
Is anybody doing that currently?
Yeah, we're not actually doing approvals, but you should be able to do that, right?
You can.
It should work. You can? Oh, great. Okay.
So
Yeah, we're not using that feature right now. I mean, there's obviously hierarchy. I mean, so, we use the hierarchy feature as far as who sees what and what groups, but we're not using an approval. But I think you're certainly able to do that as far as quotes and orders.
So you guys are doing that from
We're
mobile?
not, but we were looking at doing it with some of the custom stuff that we have and had tested it out in our sandbox, but we haven't rolled anything out with the approvals.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yes, we do.
Yeah, it should. It should.
Yeah, it's a key component, and yeah, the SMS doesn't work. Cool, yes, go for it, go to Barbados. I mean, it's better to do it in the app so then everybody can see that you are on your way to Barbados, which you deserve, so we should approve that for you. But yes, approvals can be utilized. Good question. Next question, anyone else? Come on, it's your chance to ask questions, please.
Can I ask you a question?
Please, of course.
Our salespeople want to go on the mobile apps, but our leadership team's not interested. How can we get them to sell it to the leadership team to get their buy-in on this?
So the question is, you're looking to sell this, in other words, to convince your management team or even some of your salespeople that this would actually be helpful?
Well, the salespeople want it, but
Have them
not
come
the
to a
leadership.
Dreamforce concert next year, and they will love this place.
So it's the managers who are having the issue?
It's the VPs.
Oh, wow. Our VPs loved it. I mean, like Doris said, it's gave them more information too, and they were having, to have at their fingertips the account
Sorry, our
information.
VPs just got their BlackBerries like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's new.
So we had that issue with our directors, a couple of our VPs, and that's why I just kind of did it, because we had the unlimited edition, so we already had the full mobile. Didn't cost us anything except for a couple hours of my time to sit down and put something together and just go out and talk to some pilot users. I don't know how your corporate culture is, but for us it was okay for me to have done that. But a lot of times it's easier just to show them something than it is to try and explain a concept to them. Mm-hmm. And if with nothing else, maybe even with the simulator, you'd be able to put something together that you could demonstrate. Maybe that might help. Or I don't know if you can just roll something out, put together a small pilot user, and just push it out to their devices and just get them going. Otherwise, just do something for your own device or with the simulator, and just try it that way and just demonstrate it and show it to them.
Yeah, our sales management team is very competitive, and when one group adopted it and saw the successes, it didn't take long for the rest of the sales management team to jump on board. They weren't going to let one region or one division get an upper hand over the other. So the Salesforce quick adoption right out of the gate. The sales management team, though they were enforcing the adoption, weren't using it as much until they saw the successes that other managers were having. Once they saw that, they learned, they went to our, to be trained, they learned how to run reports themselves, and one didn't want to be caught, behind another group, so it helped motivate them pretty quickly.
Seeing is believing, and true story last night, I was out to dinner and I had a sales manager and an underwriting manager, and we were talking about Salesforce, of course. And so the sales manager starts talking about mobile, and he's a huge advocate, and they start talking to an account, takes it out, and wait, what is that? Of course, wants it on his mobile now, and so seeing is believing, and as long as you show them, I think they'll see the value. And the other thing is a pilot. So even though it's so simple to do, that's the other thing. Yeah. It's not going to take a lot of time for you to even do it.
Yeah, we didn't talk much about the administration side of this, but I think all you guys say it's not exactly a burden to get going. Or even Mobile Lite. Start off with the free version of Mobile Lite right on the device. Okay. You turn that right on.
It's very easy to get something together quickly. Like I said, you can put together, if nothing else, you can put together a quick mobile profile for you and push it to your own device and have that to be able to demonstrate within an afternoon. Really, it's not too difficult.
Right. But I mean, they've all said the same thing. But I mean, we actually presented to some of the executive management. But by presented, we didn't even use the simulator. We actually walked in and sit down beside him and got out my BlackBerry and pulled it up and said, because you can tell them they'll be able to do all this at their fingertips, but when you actually show them, you can pull up this account, look, they can see the revenue, they can see this information. While they're out in the field, they can actually update this stuff right here, it can log the calls. It was amazing and eye-opening for them to actually, watch you do that and see what could be done.
Our president of our company said, what's the world coming to? The sales leader is giving an IT presentation. So the world is confused. And so.
I was wondering, in addition, if we were to sell this, I know that you talked about the I guess kind of like the Google apps. Are there any other apps that you recommend to sell this to them? like to kind of say, this is what other things you can do.
The maps was a big one
The
for
maps, yes,
us,
I was
and then
gonna
the tracking to show, because they are really on the road 4 days a week and only in the office one, and when they're out there, and his example was perfect of being able to easily see other agencies that are close in your area to go to a different visitor, do that. It's just time saving. Instead of wasting their time driving there and coming back, you can see 4 other agencies that are close to you as well. Those were the only main things that we're using, but that was big wins.
I guess there's one other part. It's free, Mobile Lite. It's a great way to start. And you never know what you might learn from that. And yeah, some of the key functionality we show, like the mapping, part of Mobile Lite. Logging those calls, Mobile Lite. Dashboards, part of Mobile Lite. So then it's like, wow, I didn't know we could do that. And that's sort of the education part I think we're learning here.
Okay.
One more question, if there's anyone. Well, thank you to the panel, if you don't mind. This is fantastic. Appreciate everything. One last thing I'll say, if there's any more questions, if you guys want to come up and maybe speak individually, again, in an audience a little bit different, but for just maybe 2 more minutes at some point, if you have more questions. But to everyone, thank you for being a part of Dreamforce this year. Because of you, this is a fantastic event for all of us, and we really appreciate your attendance, and also the attendance of our panel today. So have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.